Namaste. Namaste, everyone. I got my blue blockers on. Yogi Chris PhD, aka Pimpin' Yogi. And this is going on my yoga YouTube channel. Also, I probably will post it as an episode of Enlightened Masculinity. So we got a lot going on. I got so much going on, and everybody should have so much going on. I think that every guy should do business with me, every girl should be in a relationship with me, and that follows me anyway. Not everybody in the world, there's a lot of sheep in the world, a lot of sheeple, and we're not that. This is tribalism with IMC Nation, and this video in particular is a collaboration of my Ninth Limb yoga brand, my personal yoga brand that I created off of the inspiration of Doug Swenson, my certifying yoga teacher. My first yoga teacher was Bryce. Fuck him. The guy that certified me, Doug Swenson, super cool old dude. And I've gotten a lot of training since then. And then lately, for the last 2 years, because of COVID and that shit, yoga business changed, and I didn't want to go with it. Everybody's super liberal in the yoga space, and very sensitive and blah blah blah. And I was always a practitioner. The reason I was a great teacher was, there's a few reasons. Because of I don't know that I have so much confidence in life, but there's a few things I do have confidence in, and that's one of those is definitely being in front of people. I don't know why. I just like shine when I'm in front of people. A lot of times I have frozen. Like, there was a party we did here that we give speech. That's part of like my training. And I really froze. And it had, there was a lot of variables in that. I was emotional about something unrelated. And also I got a little too high. We smoked this really fat blunt. I wasn't used to smoking blunts, and it was whatever. So also teaching something physical or instructing in something a physical action, I had just, I guess, growing up or whatever. So teaching yoga has those variables in it too, but I think I was so good when really, because why I thought I had confidence in teaching was because of practicing alone, practicing on my own, but being so much, because maybe I was a wrestler, and there was a lot of individual training that was in pursuit of this goal or dream. Think Rocky, how Rocky's like running all the time and shadow boxing, whatever. It's very similar kind of training mentality as wrestling, because it's always a one-on-one wrestling match. And so there's a lot of training on your own. And even though yoga is nothing like competition like that, I pretty quickly transitioned from my wrestling when I was done with college wrestling, took a couple of years off, and of like all exercise and whatever. And then I got into yoga, and a lot of that competitive spirit was still in me. A lot of that goes off. A lot of that, there was a lot of like visions in my mind, or things that would be re-stimulated as I exerted myself through the yoga stretches and breathing and poses and whatever, and even handstands or whatever, that the energy of competition was still there. I was training to be a champion, even though I was doing yoga, and that can also result in like injuries. Now I still think I have that competitive spirit when I practice yoga, but it's like I'm almost competing to be the healthiest. I'm like competing to like have the most sustainable practice. Like, I don't lose, and a lot of people, they lose if they come to yoga with competitiveness. They lose that quality that would give them an edge in life, of an edge of success, to be so persistent, so enamored with the subject, so obsessed with it. They lose that obsession because they think they should, because that's the advice going around in the spiritual community. And I disagree. So I think what made me a great yoga teacher, and I think that it was, I don't think I was the best. I think that my technique was pretty good, like B plus, A minus. Now I have high standards, B plus. And my delivery, I think, in the world of teachers, not just yoga teachers, but the world of teachers, I think my delivery was also B plus. I think in the world of yoga teachers, my delivery was like A. The only reason I wouldn't say A plus is because I did put my foot in my mouth sometimes. I would over talk something. I would maybe say something uncalibrated that almost like as the words were exiting my mouth, I knew I was pushing someone's button. And it's like, have a little bit more maturity when you're in a professional position. Like if you know it's going to push someone's button that paid you, just, can you say it another way? So there was some immaturity maybe. I mean, I was like 30 to 33. That's when I was primary, or 28 to 33. 30 to 33, I was touring the country. So I was a national like thing. Excuse me. So the personal practice, which is what I'll be teaching for Frank White, the sorcery group, everybody's invited. It's called Yoga for Sorcery, but he invited me to teach it to his people. And I asked him, can we just open it up to all people? Because I don't teach that often anymore. That stuff I teach, like I show up for podcasts, so my voice I can deliver and whatever, but there's a language to yoga and instructing the body. And I don't study that so much. I talk with myself. I think that yoga as a practice is excellent at revealing one's self-talk to themselves. So you hear how you talk to yourself, because you quiet your mind, you release a lot of tension, and the inner voice just becomes louder. Now, if you're playing really loud music, you won't hear it as much, but you still eventually will catch it as you get familiar. What it is the newness of the song will grab your attention. So if you're familiar, or if you're letting go of the music, but even still, there's depths to the mind. Like it's definitely a distraction, but do what you need to make yourself practice whatever you need to motivate yourself to practice. It's not that sometimes I tested myself with music just because I felt like I was attached to no music, to the point where if somebody was making noise or if there was noise around me, I wouldn't practice just because of that noise. That's not acceptable either. You got to practice. So how to have that, what my teacher now, Arash, he says the fourth wall, which is an acting principle, how to have that fourth wall up so that if there's chaos around you, sometimes I'll think if I'm in the middle of a festival or if I'm in the middle of some crowd of people, would I be able to set up and do yoga? I have, and I can, and I do good. And there is an effect of the crowd. You do stretch a little more intensely or try a little hard, but that's the practice, is letting go. But there is a pendulum to that. There's another side to that you don't want to like, you need to be able to hold on also. Once you've mastered letting go, can you hold on to anything? Or have you, just made yourself into a robot of non-attachment? But that's not for right now. The point of this video in describing the Yoga for Sorcery program, because there won't be lectures part of it, at least not right now. Right now, my Silent Flute program is separate. I teach mindset and communication, and I do my free podcast, which is just me talking about my greatness. I basically just show up to podcasts and talk about how great I am, how great IMC Nation is. Guests show up and I talk about how great the training was. That's the podcast summarized. And versus like Silent Flute, I'm talking and I'm like, hey, I discovered this, I discovered that. And Yoga for Sorcery is going to be that discovery in my yoga practices without getting too deep on the language of hatha yoga, of physical yoga or breathing. I will give some physiology and I'll name bones, I'll name some muscles if it's useful. I think it'll be, if I think it's useful, I'll share it. And what it's useful to learn, I could do a whole thing on the jargon of yoga and the language of anatomy and kinesiology and whatever, because you can transfer a lot of ideas when you have this jargon, this very specific language for body movement and body and whatever. But how deep does a person want to go? I didn't need a lot of that language to get really good at yoga, which is what? Get really good at connecting my breath with body movement, get really good at contracting and releasing muscles. You should be able to contract them too, right? Get really good at I want to say being entertained by one's own breath and breath movement. I don't know if that's the same thing as just saying like synchronizing one's breath with movement. It's like a dance. It was a thing that I saw the geometry and the shapes in my mind, and I was attuning my body with the geometries. And that's a way of doing yoga. That's not what that's a little bit of what we'll do in the Yoga for Sorcery program. I just want to deliver 8 or 9 different, you could call it modalities, or exposing people to, and it's nothing, I could explain it right now, but explaining it is different than being guided through it and doing it. And the point being to memorize what serves you, you know, what you're attracted to. I didn't always practice everything I'd ever learned in yoga. I chose what to practice. There are sequences. I'm not going to teach you guys sequences like that. I'll teach you basic. Okay, so let's go through a little bit of the syllabus here without making the video too long. So it's kind of like, this is kind of like a promo video, you could say. This is a free podcast stream. That's also the video is going to be posted on my YouTube. But maybe your mind will be expanded when I describe these different ways of practicing physical yoga. And what gives me credentials to talk about that, besides my years of practice, the teachers I studied with after Bryce, after Doug Swenson, BNS Iyengar for a month, David Garrigues for a month. I trained very thoroughly Dylan Warner online system and gymnastic body online system for handstands. And I'm a studier. I have a PhD and a master's degree in engineering and a bachelor's degree in engineering in separate engineering fields. So it wasn't just the same thing. And I was a champion in that also. So I know how to study, and I see the body almost like an engineer would see a bridge or a building. And then after that, recently, like I was just on the phone with Robert Bustani. So I study his stuff. I haven't gone fully into all of those people's things, but I've learned important things, and I'm a great practitioner, as validated by this second thing that I'll say, that I developed a cold calling business around yoga, that I travel the United States and I taught at like 70 different studios in like 20 different states. And I had to convince those people as an outsider, as a guy, as a relatively new practitioner, that my offerings would sell and that you need them, and you know, that you should hire me. I'm a safe guy and reliable and everything. And sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't really work out. There were a lot of failures and successes in the business, but I persisted and I made a living doing that, which was impossible. Nobody did that. And considering how new I was as a practitioner, I'm saying I was great because of all the home practice, and I injured myself in home practice, and I came up with all those obstacles. I came to face all those obstacles of boredom, of restlessness, of distraction, of drugs, because I weaned myself off of drugs through that process. And so psychologically, you know, that's why I do what I do now, because psychologically, yoga practice doesn't just heal you psychologically. It cleans a lot of patterns. It opens you up to a new way. It gives you a lot of freedom and can give you a kind of confidence, and also is very, very, very healthy. It's very healthy. So we can remove, essentially all of that could really even be summarized as removing the physical obstacles to clear thinking, the physical agitations and things that are nagging and pulling at our emotions throughout life that you may not even be aware of, because you become so accustomed to tension in your legs or carpal tension, you know, blah, 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 your certain way of breathing. To change your breathing and movement pattern is going to give you a lot of sensations that you're numb to right now. And when you learn different ways of movement, like I was saying, different modalities, but I was also introducing why I'm credible in that, is in calling 2,000 yoga studios around the United States, which is unheard of. Nobody has talked to as many yoga studios as I have, at least not in that amount of time. Maybe Doug Swenson, there's a few travel yogis, but he's older, established, and he's definitely called more yoga studios, but I did it better. Even though he was more successful at what he did. Like I said, he's older, more established. He certified me. I mean, the guy's the guy. That's the guy. Like, I'm comparing myself as a young buck to that well-established guy. I'm doing pretty good. And so what I was saying, so I'm calling all those yoga studios I became very familiar with on the professional side of yoga, like what is offered. And I would occasionally come across really unique offerings, or you know, I really expanded my mind. I saw so many websites, so many YouTube channels, so many yoga podcasts, so many presentations of the offering, so many pricings, so many, you know, presentations, meaning like workshops or retreats or weekend getaways or different hybridized class structures like Divine Feminine or moon healing or fucking astrology or bead making, mala making, you know, art therapy with yoga headstand, fucking drum circle, cacao ceremony. Like, goddamn, there's so many fucking things they would have. Bicycle yoga. So, that's why I can say, here are some of the yoga practices. Now, I'm not teaching like prenatal or postnatal yoga. That's a thing for that. That's not one of the modalities. There's many things. I can't go through all the things I'm not teaching. But I'll teach you what I use to more or less degree daily. And I'll split it apart in 8 or 9 classes. And I'll go thoroughly through it so that you really get it. And what will take me 30 or 40 minutes to teach you, that'll be the class time, Tuesdays and Saturdays, as it is right now, but that could change. Frank hit me up and was like, do this other video because the last one you said it was a 9-part series, but it's not anymore because I thought it would start on January 1st. It starts on January 15th and whatever. I have it split apart into 9 parts. But it could be 8. I'm a great teacher. Like I can blend it. And then also when I first made the syllabus, I thought it was just like a one-time, like a 1-month thing. And him and I both agree, let's make it an ongoing thing. If people want to do it, if we get at least 20 signups or whatever, I'm like, because what I do with Arash is more important. I'm always going to practice yoga, guys. I don't need to teach yoga, but it's fun to teach yoga. Kat just got me a guitar. I don't know if I'll keep it or play it or whatever. It's fucking fun to play a guitar. That's almost the problem. It's like too fun. Like I'm trying to fucking create a life over here. I'm just not just trying to have fun. I also have fun with a lot of other things. Just guitar is like a great spice of life. Teaching yoga, I don't need to do it, but I will. And there's a lot of benefit, positive karma, positive benefit for the world, my environment, my people. And I would also benefit from teaching. It clarifies the techniques for me and it pushes me deeper. But it's like guitar. It's a rabbit hole. The addiction to learning more about my yoga practice is not related to my business here at Base One with Arash. It's very loosely related, just in like my branding, my name is Yogi Chris. I'm a yoga instructor, but I'm always going to practice yoga. Like it's not a problem. I know that. I've made peace with that. I've tried to transcend yoga. Like I need that shit. Weightlifting, you get so tense. Bicycling, you're so tense. Everything basically you get so tense. Tai Chi or whatever is just like, I would probably do that, or some kind of qigong or whatever. I'd probably do more martial arts or whatever. And I could see that stuff as yoga, but I would also do headstands and shoulder stands, and I'd want to do chest opening. And there are things that are in yoga and with the breathing. I don't know that I would get into martial arts. I'm more of a yogi than I am a monk, you could say. You could call them the same thing, but if I'm more of a yogi. But it's weird. I'm like a militant soldier-like guy that became a yogi, and that's different from being like a monk. So I'm like a yogi fighter. I'm like a fighter yogi kind of, but I don't do fighting professionally, so I'm not like saying it like that, but I am combative like that. Like I like that stuff. Like I miss fighting and grappling and whatever. So these practices that I'll teach in the Yoga for Sorcery program will cover joint rotation. They'll cover a few different, or at least 2 different, possibly 3 different breathing techniques that give you a different look on the breath, a different experience of the breath hold and the rush of the pace and speed of the breath of the nose or the mouth. And you get more familiar. It's not a comprehensive thing on breathing. This whole thing is not a comprehensive yet. If it goes into a 2nd month and a 3rd month, because there's enough subscribers for it, then we could go, it'll be guided by the class, like other questions. I could go deeper on each of these subjects. I used to teach 2-hour in-person workshops on each of these subjects, and it was never enough. I could do 6 hours on each one. And I did sometimes. They would love it and be like, come and teach for our teacher training, be a guest on our teacher training, teach an expanded version of that. And, it's a rabbit hole. I love doing it, but I want to give you the distilled version of what I do for myself and what supports and sustains my life with hip opening, pelvis opening, spine alignment. It's a combination, like I was telling Kat, some of the systems that you don't need to know with all these systems. It's going to be over your head. It's like, maybe I could talk about it in the next video or something, because Frank wants me to make 2 of these. So I'll make a second one. about like the different lineages of yoga or whatever that I practice and what those systems are. But what I'll be teaching you, the joint rotation, the joint pulling, how to pull your joints open, the breath movement system. These are different things. So pulling your joints is one thing. Joint rotation is another thing. One thing is the breath movement system, how to move your body in sync with your breath in the way that I do it, how I describe it. Then an actual breathing practice, how to set yourself up for a breathing practice and not make yourself like a psycho, because that'll happen with breathing. I'd have to look at the syllabus to see what all the other parts are. I could see myself doing, yeah, I really should look at the syllabus. Let me pause this and come right back with that. Okay, so I found it. So the circular movements for, okay, breathing and breath hold physiology. So I'll go through external hold and internal hold, and you'll feel how it affects your blood flow. And I'll teach you just an easy system and how I do the system. That'll essentially be belly breathing. And belly breathing is one of my innovations, that like how I teach belly breathing. When I was reflecting on all the things that I used to offer around the nation, I was really great at several things, but almost all of those things were not my own. I didn't create them. I just mastered someone else's thing and I made it my own, but the skeleton of what I would teach is someone else's system. The belly breathing, I fucking did a majority of what I would teach. Like that's my shit. So that class will be great. Yeah, the basic of vinyasa movement. So that's the breath movement coordination. Oh man, self-massage. Oh, that's going to be so good. You guys got to know this. You got to know what I know about self-massage, because that shit calms your nervous system so much. And there's so much misalignment in your spine, shoulders, and pelvis and everywhere. I mean, if you're misaligned in those places, you're misaligned in a lot of places. That is the result of tension in your calves and forearms. It's pulling on the fascia and connective tissue all the way to your spine. And when you can self-massage out in the way that I'll show you, your calves and your forearms. I keep forgetting the camera's up here. So if I look lazy-eyed, the camera's up here. That's going to relax your whole system, and you're going to feel things click back into place just because you're relaxing the forearms and calves. So that's going to be a really great class. Beginning stretching your nerves and hand mudras. So hand mudras are really, I use my hands so much. It's not something I teach hardly ever. I have taught a few hand mudra seminars. I have 2 hand mudra products. So that's on ninthlimb.com. But the way I use my hands is not so much for the energetics, although I have noticed that there's a lot of energetics going on with the hands. What I'm doing is I'm symmetrizing my wrists, the carpals, and I've noticed the effect in the hands up through the elbows, arms, into the heart and the neck. And so there's a lot of releasing that can happen, a lot of opening that can happen in the upper spine, shoulders. I mean, it's amazing. Hand mudras is definitely something that I use every day when I meditate. And I'm not doing chants. Sometimes I'll visualize like what the shape of it is, but it's a fun thing I hold on to because it's not related to the meditation exactly. So I'll teach you the way that I do it. And now that I think about it, that's a really great thing, because Robert Bustani hit me up about doing energy healing. I could do something, I think, with hand mudras and belly breathing. Oh man, that would be I don't know how long I have to teach for that summit. So going back to the syllabus, floor work and feeling your imagination. So that'll be really great psychologically. There's a lot of floor work, laying on the floor and rolling around, that will tap into your more childlike psychology. So we can do more healing and integration, rolling around in the room and using our imagination. That's integral. This is my practice, just so you know. So this is very intimate. I hope you guys sign up for it. It's only $97. The early sign up, if this is going on my YouTube and it gets posted before the 15th and you're lucky enough to see it, the early sign up is $77, but the subscription on the 15th when the link is released, because I don't know how to delay the start of a subscription. It takes some like coding to do that. So if anybody out there knows how to do that, hit me up. But it's 97 once it gets going. So hand mudras. Oh man, God, this is such a good syllabus. Man, I'm glad I thought this out before, Frank. That was such a good, he knows how to plan. So he asks me things and I'm like, man, so I got to plan this. So Shavasana. We're going to have a whole fucking class on Shavasana. And to get a great Shavasana, we have to exercise. So I'm going to I'm going to have you do some like push-ups or something, but it's going to be yoga push-ups. It's like you've never done before. It's going to be so good. It's going to be like 2 or 3 push-ups from your knees or whatever, and you're going to feel like your heart is exploding in your chest. And then I'm going to have you do shavasana. That's going to give you so much relaxation. It's going to change your perspective on relaxation. So without keeping this video too long, heart opening and your pelvic floor. So that'll just be interesting, like using a block basically. So hopefully you'll be able to get a yoga block. And if not, I'll still be able to help you open your heart, open your pelvic floor. It's just like a seated practice. It's like very minimal. Like if you're driving and you're done driving, you sit down, like it's a very minimal practice. That's what class 8 is. And then class 9, integrating your spine with your movement. That'll make more sense. So how is that a different modality? What was I thinking when I said that? Integrate your spine with your movement. I think that's going to be sun salutations. I was already talking about the basics of vinyasa movement, but I don't think that we're going to do sun salutations when I do that. So I'll make sun salutations its own thing, which is, it's interesting. We end with where I began. I began my yoga learning sun salutations and then the whole Ashtanga Vinyasa sequence. And that's built on the sun salutation, which is a very rigorous exercise for anyone to do, even a fit person. That's difficult. Sun salutations are hard. And so we end with that, and we'll end with, the easiest ways to do it. So not every class is for everybody. Not everybody is going to want to do all the techniques, but you'll definitely get 2 or 3 routines that you'll love, and you'll want to do those more. And honestly, if you just picked up one of those 9 classes, and because what I mean by pick up is you like it and you do it regularly, almost every day, you'll look forward to it because you'll like it. It'll feel good. You'll understand how to do it. It'll make sense to you. You'll naturally want to do it. If you just get one of those routines, or even part of it, goddamn, one of those techniques, I swear to God, if you just get one of the techniques and you really like it and you do it, it's worth the month subscription. For sure. $97, it's worth it. You get one technique, forearm self-massage. You get forearm self-massage and you get that, that's worth the technique. Or how to hold your, like every technique I described, if you get one of them, it's worth it, because to get it, like to psychologically get it, to emotionally get it where you want to do it, means what? It means that you are feeling some tremendous benefit from it, to the point that you are internally memorizing how to do what you're doing, so that the first time you do it, you're like, I'm going to do that again. And you do it on your own, and you have this affinity towards it, and no one has to tell you to do it. You just do it. Why you just do it is because you love it. You enjoy the movement. It's so freeing and it feels so good. It's so healthy. And you'll probably get many more than one of those in the whole month. You'll get a bunch of those. I'm not going to throw it at you too fast. We're going to go slow so that it takes longer to teach it. And then you memorize, you do it. And then you can ask me questions or whatever. Which we'll have a whole Telegram group for it. It'll be easy. So sign up and just sign up. I don't know if you watch this whole fucking video and you don't sign up, I don't know. You really don't have the money? Come on. $97, invest in yourself. It's a lifetime of practice. You will get techniques that will last you a lifetime. And I mean, that's a gift that just keeps giving. So I'll see you on the Yoga for Sorcery program and in any other videos I do for this. Namaste. Also, if I post this for Enlightened Masculinity podcast, which I don't know that I will, but if I do, then you also should sign up for this. Os.